you know,
What
one
should
of
you
the
say
things,
this, Wally?
Gittin Street, right?
Alright.
Right? So, my uncles and them, what I go tell you about certain relatives I have in the area, I'll try not to really acknowledge them.
Oh,
But,
so it's that one, boy.
nah, right? But, right, let me show you how, by the way, as the recording start, I wanted to do this, right?
What's that?
Well, let's know. I'm not finish the point with the Takrigo thing now, boy.
Alright.
So, I don't know if you ever, well, you should have seen in previous episodes now, as the Southman and thing, Osei in particular, will be trying
Relax
to
yourself now, boy.
adopt men and all kind of thing now. Now, right now, I currently in Labrie now. You understand? I from the I from the East West Corridor. And it's only when I realize how much Southman is for Southman. You understand? Since I come down here now, boy. So we are trying to establish where our man origins from now. So to hear you say Takrigwa, you understand? Right? So that's
let me clear up a bit of that before we go forward. I live in Takariga, but I'm not from Takariga.
Right.
where you from?
Don't say anything else. Wait, Swade, like study. You're Russian, Swade.
No, I have other outstanding matter of business here too.
You gotta clear that out before.
All right, well, go ahead and start. But when I interject with it, I don't want you cut me.
Go ahead and clear it up, Swade.
You see what I mean? So you want to know that you're able to cut it out, right? So I have a promise in abeyance to be dealt with now. And these two gentlemen here kind of made it difficult for me to do it now. It's our one. This one here, this must always say Julian, trying to continue in his efforts to tarnish my name, right? So, and then after I made efforts to rectify the situation, which was a genuine oversight, Mr. Andre Prescott didn't facilitate it, right? So Ms. Shakira
Hey, don't get me involved in your backing out.
No, because you can just send the voice note. Ms. Shakira Mendes, right?
You see it, pronouncing the lady name wrong.
Okay, Miss Mendes, right? I have just been reminded. I've been reminded a few days ago that I made a promise, which I had every intention to keep. However, due to the challenges and the vicissitudes of life,
Corona.
No, I was unable, and it did slip my mind. Right? I owed you a card to commemorate your attendance on our podcast as our first female guest ever on the 1st of March. However, pardon my tardiness. It was due to several challenges out of my control, and my colleagues took umbrage to me trying to make efforts to rectify it. And I was told, if I feel so strongly about it, the next time we have an episode, to give you a shout out. So, Miss Mendes, thank you again, right?
Oh,
and
I hope you say you cut out this whole thing.
Because you think you'll do that.
Cut out the whole thing.
Think you could do that, right?
Cut out the whole thing.
Kendall, you see what going on here. At this area as witness, right? If I don't see it in the episode, I'm gonna start getting comments. I'm gonna say, Kendall, you see what went on, right? I'm pointing it out, right? Thank you.
Cut this out.
Right, I mean, you see what I like grab? Anyhow, and I like grab it. Alright. Yeah, so we continue now, guys.
Let me get this on that way, right?
Welcome to another episode of the Trifactor Podcast.
This podcast is for Trini football piongs and international ones, where we get to discuss all matters of football, both Trini and internationally.
If you are a football fanatic,
this is for you.
If you just stumble upon here by mistake,
don't worry, God doesn't make mistakes. This is for you.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Most importantly, give us your feedback for future content that you might be interested in. On this week's episode, we'll be discussing.
Tonight we have Kendall Jagdeosingh. How are you doing, bro?
Just blessed, man. Can't complain. God is the greatest.
Amen, brother. Normally I get the ball rolling, but Zwade does hate on me now, boy.
So tonight, I just say let's run ahead and take easy questions.
Right. So tonight you let Zwade start us off.
Sure.
Go ahead, Zwade.
Right. So
take the wheel.
Mr. Jagdeosingh, you have had a very interesting career, right? And as speaking as a person who has been a very active member on one of our local football forums, you understand? And a lot of people were looking forward to you doing a lot of the things that you did and more, primarily based on your name. Stereotypes, Trinidadians are terrible with stereotypes, but you are the ultimate example of how wonderful Trinidad and Tobago is, right?
What stereotype is that, boy?
Why the city man named Jagdeosingh? And I say, hey, right, you know, long we need people of East Indian descent and thing to be encouraging playing football and thing, and that's how real it was, you know.
Serious?
I mean, I'm telling you.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with that experience.
Yes, actually.
Locally and internationally.
Yeah, this Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
I had a brethren in school. Watch me. The man name is Justin Ragu, right? And you would never believe when you see him that is Justin Ragu. But anyhow, that's Trinidad and Tobago for you,
Yeah,
right?
for
That's
sure.
the wonderful melting pot that we have,
Yeah.
and this is something that we should be glad about. So,
Sure.
what we really like to hear is things in a kind of sequential order now. So, tell us how you started to get introduced to the game, your early influences, how you started out, and like primarily what I like to hear is, did you set out with the intention of how much of your journey was intentional and as how much was a reaction to fate? Tell me how you started playing football. What was the earliest football memories you have then?
All right.
Earliest football memory I would have was in primary school, so I would have been 8, 9, 10.
What primary school was that?
Manzanilla government.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Manzan, right?
Manzanilla.
Yeah. So that so he still can't get claimed by the South, man. Eh? He's still a East man. Eh? That
You
is
can't claim him
right.
at all, so
You can't claim it at all. Right. So tell me about your experiences and thing in Manzanilla government and everything. How, especially, I mean, when you challenges are a lot of players in areas like Manzanilla, Guayari, Beach, those kind of areas tend to have is slipping under the radar because they're not really privy to exposure. So tell us about your experiences from there now.
Well, to be honest, you're right. Because they're more class us as country bookie, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we always the bottom of the heap, the last one to get seen on them kind of stuff. And I mean, the opportunities and the availabilities goes against us because we're coming from so far. But I was blessed that in my time in going primary school, I had a good group of footballers ahead of me,
Right.
which was Anthony Wolf, Glenton Wolf,
Wolf,
Colin
yeah.
Samuel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We went on to represent the national team together.
I expected them 3 names in truth.
Yeah. So those were the older guys, and to name other few guys who didn't play pro or in national team, but you know, they were the guys in primary school, for lack of a better term, you know. So the challenges, I didn't take it too serious. You know, football was just at that age was just fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a sporting family. My mom and my dad used to play basketball, so basketball was my first passion.
Okay.
Football was second.
What team used to support Bulls?
Of course, everyone used to support Bulls. I can't
Right.
remember who used to support Bulls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was just the upbringing then in primary school and in the community as well. I live directly opposite the football field.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I was always on the field, always on the court, you know, in and around that environment in Manzanilla, 5 minutes away from the beach. You know, everything is country life, country vibe, you know, it was humbling. So it was so the primary school era that you asked about was just them terms, and we competed in the competitions, you know, we did well, and I never took it serious after primary school, because when I left primary school, I went to Sunny Granite Junior Sec, where they didn't have a football team, but they had basketball somewhat. So I fell right into.
Right. So your football influence though, who was the first professional footballer you could remember seeing that was like who left that imprint on your mind and you wanted to be like him, maybe practice his skills? Who was the first one?
Well, growing up in my neighborhood, the 3 guys that I call Anthony Wolf, Glenton Wolf, and Colin Samuel, they were 2-3 years older than me, so they were more advanced.
Right.
So they was already on the junior national teams and playing, well, what we would call big man football, whether I semi-pro, and them stuff now, boy.
Yeah.
So I used to look up to those guys. Those were my role models. Those were the guys that I look up to because I seen them doing the things that they were doing, and I want to be like that. You know, I want to be noticed. I want to be talked about. And I could do the things that they could do. So I used to look up to those guys. Those were my inspiration.
Nice.
Right. So from primary school, where was your what was your next step after? Secondary school in Takal? How it went like that for you?
Well, I went to Sunny Granite Junior Sec. We didn't have an intercal team.
Mm-hmm.
So for 3 years, I didn't play any football.
None.
No football whatsoever.
Not even, no outside, nothing outside the school.
Outside, little sweat. Little sweat.
Nothing
I was
structured.
11, 12, so 13, nice little sweat now and then in the field, barefoot,
nothing,
beat, all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't, nothing structured. So,
Right.
And when I left Sunny Granite Junior Sec, I went to Johnson Finishing School. That's in Arima. Better known as Adams, but it was Johnson Finishing School in Arima.
Okay.
That was a basketball school. But when I left Junior Sec, I just started to train with Naughty Stars. Trial test. So the love for football kind of gradually came back in. And before I would go as far as that, I had one childhood friend, a Muslim brother. His name is Lukman Abdul Haqq.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make mention of his name because as I'm about to tell you what I'm telling you now, I could visualize what he was telling me back in the days.
Right.
So I keep owing a lot of my drive and determination and my success towards him in the respect as the ability, I had ability, but the ability that I had, I wasn't seeing what he was seeing in me. He's older than me, of course, and he stood down and he spoke to me. And the way how he spoke to me is like how you would fantasize about your favorite player.
Right.
And I was surprised and I was took back by that. And he took me to Naughty Stars, spoke to the coach to get me a trial with Naughty Stars.
How much older than you was he?
About I would say about 3 years older than me. 2 or 3 years older than me.
Like a big brother vibes kind of thing.
He had all that vision so young? What?
Yeah, he's a footballing person as well. Very passionate. Very passionate about the sport. He used to play as well. Could have played, but he never took it to that level, or I guess opportunities never meet, But he was the one who introduced me to Mr. Guy, was the coach at that time in Naughty Stars. And that's how it started when I left Junior Sec. So when I went to Johnson Finishing School, I asked for a transfer to Arima Senior Comprehensive because I wanted to play football.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up in Arima Senior Comprehensive. The coach was Kerry Jameson.
Mm-hmm.
The assistant coach was Bio. I can't remember my first name. Forgive me for that. So that's where the love for football started. That's when structured football started when I went to Arima Senior Comprehensive. Because back then I would have been playing with Arima Senior Comprehensive and then going and play games and training with Naughty Stars.
Right. Were you around 15 at that time?
Yes.
50. So you really start structured football around 15.
My first professional pre-contract was at 16.
Hey, there's hope. There's hope for everybody. Start late.
So we're saying after 1 year, you had a professional pre-contract.
Yeah. Because from playing, and you'll stop me if I go too fast, right?
Nah, you're good.
Nah, you don't speed it on.
Played into Collins School the first year. That's Form 4.
Right.
No. Form 4. Yes, played into Form 4. My timing was the big guns, so to speak.
Naps.
The Goran Hailey.
Yeah.
The Devon King. The deceased Dwight Lewis, also known as Splash, Dana Laguerre. We had a proper team, and Kitwana Bosi, who was one of my best friends in school. He went to the Youth World Cup, the Under-17 Youth World Cup.
Okay.
So we had a proper team. And that year, I struggled to play that year.
Right.
I never really played, to be honest. I played probably 2 or 3 games, came on in the Big 5 final, the Intercal final, but those guys were way ahead of me in terms of experience. I will defend my talent, but in terms of experience and coming from the country, a lot of things I would honestly say I thought went against me, but that was part of my.
Just to commute to get to school alone.
Yeah. It had days. Well, first of all, how I grew up poor in Manzanilla. I couldn't make it to go to school every day. So I had to choose the days that we have football training or basketball, because I played basketball in Crumpy as well. I was the captain of the basketball team there. I had to choose the days when I have football training or basketball training to go to school, because parents obviously couldn't afford. I'm the second of 2 brothers, one older, one younger. So growing up was tough. When you think about as I always tell everybody, when you think about poverty, make no mistake, that's how I grew up in Manzan. Poverty at the age of 12. At the age of 12, my brother was 14, my younger brother was 11, and we was pretty much living on our own.
Wow.
We was in a house on our own. Mom left the year before, dad left a year after. And my older brother practically used to cook. He was with Mirror Composite, so he used to cook for us. Struggle, it was and I'm not exaggerating this because this is just my testimony. When you think about poverty, that's how I grew up in Manzanilla. Poverty-ridden, a dilapidated home, no electricity. I never even watched the 19 World Cup. We never had electricity. So it was tough. It was tough growing up, but the blessing from God, I never got into trouble.
Thank God for that.
Never smoke anything. Till this day, I'm 35 years old. Police never put handcuffs or their hands on me.
Yeah.
I always was guided by good vibes and the Lord. I would say I must be appreciative of the guidance I had then, because it's easy. I was amongst.
Yeah, it had so many ways it could have go wrong.
I was in the middle of everything. I was directly in the middle of everything when I grew up, and I was blessed not to be involved in those stuff. So just to touch back a bit, before I get too far ahead, that's how I grew up with my 2 brothers in a home. My older brother, 2 years older than me, was at 14 at the time. Basically, he was a man in the family, and so that's how I grew up. So a lot of people may not know this, or they might know this now from this interview going forward, but that is the environment that I came from. So going to, like I say, had no boots. I had 1 pair of school uniform, 1 bag, had no boots. I had to borrow boots to go training. I had to go training on the days when I could go because the parents couldn't afford it. Can eat a proper meal before training. All those is the battles and the trials and tribulation I had to face from my early childhood. So my strength and my success, as I will talk about going forward, have a lot to do with my upbringing, and I've used that energy to propel me and to push me forward. I didn't use it against me. I used it for me to propel me to go forward. So I didn't play intercal in school. Those guys were way ahead of me. Form 5 as well. Played basketball majority of the time. Had a chance to repeat and I turned it down because I went to play with Northeasters under 20. That could have been 2002.
Okay.
3, 4, 2, 2002. Yeah, memory serves me well. 2002, 2003.
But let me ask this, Kendall.
You were like 16. You were like 16 when you start? Yeah.
15 going on 16.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask
What's,
this.
what's say is usually ask, hold on, I'll say is usually ask something, then I wanted to make sure we
Yeah, go
touch it
ahead, go
before
ahead.
we go on. Usays usually ask what was like your natural ability that you had raw. What was your raw talent? Was it skill, speed?
Yeah.
You
What
could
made
shoot,
Abdul Haqq
what kind of
believe in
thing?
you?
I understand.
Because I could tell you when I watch highlights of you, dog, I don't understand how you're so both-footed. You remind me of Dembele in Barcelona now. I don't even know your left foot or your right foot. I don't know. So I don't know if you always had that. I don't know.
And I want to understand what I'm saying, what I'm about to say based on the conversation that we just had, right?
Right.
I always had speed.
Right.
But my ability, I mean, I could play football, I know the basics and them kind of stuff, but my ability mentally was, I have to succeed. My drive and my determination. I didn't have a proper first touch. I can control the ball. I can shoot. Like I didn't. My ability was speed, and I had a relentless attitude towards succeeding because of what I left behind. I had no choice. There was no other way for me but to go forward. There was absolutely no other way. There was no other way. I used to stay as much as I could stay on the field because when I know I go home, probably might get a dinner or a proper meal to eat. Probably won't get breakfast in the morning. So I tried to stay away from home as much as I could because home was trauma.
All right. So you started to go down the road out telling us about your under 20 experiences with Northeast Stars.
Well,
and just before, what I want you to touch on is your adaptation into that professional setup. Because, you know, as a late bloomer, some people might find that challenging. So, given your drive and everything, tell us about how you adjusted to that.
Yeah, when I get to Northeast Stars 16, the pre-contract was 16 going on 17. So 15 and 16 I was there. The coach was Mr. Guy. My first year was challenging, so to speak. Those guys, like I said, they were already playing. They were already recognized as Sandy Granny's a bigger tongue. Guys from Valencia, we had a group from Arima, so those guys were way advanced. Those guys were playing with the Memphis and Arima and this and that, and I still coming from Manzanilla.
Yeah.
So those guys were way ahead, and I first year struggled, didn't play much. Second year, the coach was Solomon. That's we known as Chipper in Grandy. If you go anywhere in Sunny Grandy and ask a Chipper, a blind person get point him out for you.
Right.
And that was my second year underneath him. 2003. I played a little bit underneath him, but still I'm gonna play about 40%, 30% of the games because I just kind of finding my feet. And where it all started for me was 2004. Now 2004, from at the end of 2003, I seen where I have the same ability with those guys, but I was never brave and bold enough because I was shy. I was small. I was skinny, for lack of a better term. So I couldn't. It was difficult. And in 2005, I made a promise to myself that I will do better, and started to stay back late, train on my own. And in 2004, they had an under 20 league. The Jagdeosingh Connection, Joe Public, Raul, the Fire, all of them. In the 2004 under 20 league, I was the MVP in the league.
Right.
Scored about 20-something goals, most valuable player in the league. And in damn timing, the league had
it was a tough league.
cream in the crop. It had everybody from the national players, youth players, whatever, and I outshined every single one of them.
Yeah.
And that year I made the national under 20 team as well. Anton Cornell and Brian Williams was the coach. I also won the Pro League with Northeast Stars that year.
Oh.
Because while I was playing on the under 20, I was playing with the senior team. So the under 20 used to be 2 o'clock, and the games in Grande used to be 2 and 4 o'clock. So when I done play at 2 o'clock, I used to go and sit on the bench for the senior team.
Okay.
Right.
And yeah. So that's how it used to be in them timing. So that is where really the success kick off there for me that year. That was the pinnacle and the beginning. Made the national team, made the senior team in Northeast, MVP in the youth league, and that's how everything kicked it off properly. 2004 year I would have signed. 2004 I would have signed my first contract.
Right.
And to give you all a story about that, as I always tell people, my contract stipend was 500 TT.
How often?
That's for the month.
No, I wanted it to be clear because men don't
yeah.
understand what some of these pro league men be going through, you know.
Mind you, the first time I received that $500 in my hand was $501 bill.
Oh, good man!
Now I want to make mention to something, right? The owner of the team, Mr. Mahabir.
Yeah.
I never met somebody as passionate about anything they're doing more than this guy.
Okay.
And he held that team on his own.
Yeah.
From beginning of Northeast Stars till until sponsors come on board when we started to get recognized.
Yeah. A businessman,
out of his own pocket, he used to finance the team.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I just call him as a hustler because he have that hustle mentality,
right,
to get stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a big part to play in a major part to play in his success as well too, because without him and his dream and passion, it would have been impossible for me to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanna just go back a little before we go forward, right? What was that? Even though you promised yourself to do better, we know that it still may not have been easy. Can you remember where you mentally made that jump from being scared or timid or being in a game and not doing as much to where you're saying, hey, I could do this on this level with these same guys? You can remember? Or do you remember the training that went in before? Was there something that flipped? Do you remember anything like that?
It was the mentality.
That's the mentality, okay.
It was the mentality because I know if I did well, better would come.
Mm.
So I would compete with the guys and compete against them. I want to be better than them. I want to be the best.
Right.
You know, and I also was competing with myself as well to prove myself that, hey, I could do this, because as I'm telling you, if I don't, I have nothing to go back to.
Right.
Absolutely nothing to go back to. So
it was all in.
It was just looking forward. It was just looking for being the best, game in, game out. Game in, game out. I just had to, the mentality had to be spot on. I faced a lot of challenges in and around, but I had to thank God that I was guided to keep pursuing my dreams despite all the hiccups.
Nice. I can give
all right. So, I was going into the memories I had with like Northeast Stars on the senior team and all that. And around this time in here, we talking about your continued exposure to the national community, etc., etc. What would you say is your most treasured memory of that time? What do you think it was something that you really treasured around that time?
In 2004, I treasured being the most valuable player in the country. The under 20 level. I treasure that a lot because the guys who I came up against was playing on the national team, and I wasn't yet on the national team. The guys who I was competing against was winners of intercol, and I never played in the intercol. The players who were playing on the senior team for their respective clubs, I was on the junior team. I was, I literally was the dark horse in the race.
Right.
And, so that would have been my treasured moment. Also with winning the Pro League with Northeast Star that year, because that year was our third year in the league. The first year we'll become dead last. The second year we came third, and the third year we won the league.
Yeah.
The league and the FA Cup.
Wow.
I remember that Northeast team was causing problems. It upset our town, and because they just come from nowhere, and then too they're coming from far, so that same chip on the shoulder, the country bookie, people they are not respectful. They come in.
Yeah,
so,
that's exactly what it was. So
hard.
So when you win that award there, did it get to your head at all that like you made it, or that was just like a further?
I couldn't, because the group of guys that I was surrounded by, they wouldn't allow me to do that. They wouldn't allow me to do that. And then I come from humble beginnings, so the spotlight, I still, this day I will tell you, for people who don't know me, I would never mention I play football or my accomplishment, because I don't really thrive on that. That is the attributes that the countryside afforded me, I hold on to that. Them things don't really bother me. It feels nice to be appreciated, but I never took it way beyond than.
You never let it define you.
Yeah.
You never really let it define you. It just was.
Yeah. I mean, as a youth man, I enjoy the little fame and thing comes with it. Obviously, like I said, but I never really acted out of character. And like I said, the group of guys that I was around, trust me, they was not allowing that at no point in time.
Right.
Right.
So what was next? So you were Northeast. I think there was a year you weren't at Northeast anymore. You went to
in 2005. I left. No, played Northeast in 2005. In 2006, I went to Caledonia.
Right.
What caused that?
Contractual disputes. By then, I was already an established junior national team, because I made the under 20 team, the under 21 team, the under 23 team. By then, I was already a household name, so to speak, and I wanted more money. Basically, for the things that I've done and I've achieved, I wanted more money. It wasn't an ugly dispute. Caledonia came in with an offer, but Northeast could not have matched, and I remember all the decisions I make solely by myself, because I had no father, no guidance. So at that time, my father probably still never saw me play.
Right.
Representing the national team, my mom, all them stuff. So I made all those decisions for myself, by myself.
It's not just a terrible decision.
And at this point in your career and thing, so hold on, sorry. So whole time you were center forward, right?
No.
Oh.
So this is where the story getting tricky. I used to play as a winger because I'm a speed. But when I made the national under 20 team, I was a defensive midfielder.
Oh.
Well, I know when it at certain levels is one thing you got the team play anywhere to play, but which coach saw you and wanted to try you there? You remember?
Yeah, he said
O'Neil.
Defensive midfield. Was very aggressive, was very fast, win the ball, hand it off.
Yeah.
I was the
fast players in the midfield.
Yeah, so I used to play defensive midfield with Keon Daniel was the attacking.
Yeah. Hey, that's on that 20 team, boy. Yeah, that was that 20 team.
We had a proper
that's on that 20 team.
So on that under 20 team, the goalkeeper was Thornholder Belgrave from down outside, I think. The defender, the defenders would have been Carl and Murray. He was with Jablote. Left back would have been Marcel Francois. Right back would have been Akile Edwards. The other stopper was a guy from Defense Force, but I couldn't remember my name. And we had one guy from Tobago. It was me and Keon in the midfield.
Right.
Tobago fellow Jack.
No, not Jack. We had three Tobagons on the team. We had Gabriel Lashley. I can't remember the next two names, boy. We on the right side, who was on that team, boy? Shane Calderon was on that team as well. Devon Maxwell was on that team. Rodanfa Abubakar was on that team. Christopher Sam was on that team. Hayden Tinto was on that team.
Yeah, I remember Tinto, yeah.
Yeah.
Tinto, Daniel, Baka. Yeah, I remember. Tone was our next one.
Yola Sandy was on that team. Johan C.
Yola Sandy, say? Yeah.
Yeah, Johan C. Marshall was on that team.
Yeah.
We had some other names. We had Cordell Samuel was in and out. We had some, and remind you, all those guys were playing with the top youth teams in the country.
For sure.
That was a strong team. That was a strong
like a bomb squad, boy.
Yeah, that strong team. That was a strong team.
We had from overseas. We had Kareem Smith was on that team as well. He's a defender. We had Kevin Crooks. They was going out to university out to the States. Kevin Crooks. Yeah, we had a proper team.
Nice. Wow. So you're making the team. Yeah, a little change in your pocket. What was the first big purchase you made? Like, I know you come from humble beginnings, but we all know when we got our first little money, you might buy something. What was the first big purchase you made?
So in 2005, my salary would have been $1,800.
Right.
In 2006, when I went to Caledonia, my salary went up to $3,500. Big purchase. I probably so myself was the biggest purchase.
Okay.
Yeah. Nike. I always played in Nike.
Vapor?
Yeah, or the Total 90 of them at that time.
90.
I that was probably the biggest purchase.
Nice.
By that time still kind of taking care of the family a little bit, here. Savings. I was very disciplined from a young age to save.
Wow.
So I used to save something out of that every month. 2000 when Caledonia was another successful year for me as well, because when I went on to Caledonia, I was the fourth leading goal scorer in the Pro League that year, the top goal scorer in the FA Cup.
Right.
And obviously the leading goal scorer for Caledonia, and I made the national senior team in 2006 with Caledonia.
Wow.
Now for the national senior team, you're still playing defensive, or because of your goals they treat you to a striker now?
The national senior team, I was more playing attacking up front and centre forward. So centre forward, I would say, because not really centre forward. 4-4-2 we used to play, so a striker.
And them times, who was competing in the senior national corner?
I have to humble myself and sit down on the bench as much as I could.
Start your canting.
Yeah, 2006.
Strikers was Cornell Glenn,
Samuel,
McFarlane, in and out, Jason Scotland, Stern John. Well, obviously Dwight York, Andre Toussaint. I couldn't, but I think the reason why I was around the national team because of how well I was doing in the Pro League.
Pro League, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't think, to be honest with you, while I would have loved to, I didn't think I was anywhere better than those guys. who could have compete properly with those guys, but because I was doing so well in the league at a young age as well, you know, they just take me. Yeah.
What did that exposure do to you, though? Playing with those guys, did it inspire you more? Did it want to give you a hunger for more?
Well, boy, it ain't easy, you know.
You'll be in O2, you'll be all way, boy. This is when I come up against, or you deal with that?
It wasn't fair. It was more. Yo, I had to show them, hey, you know, I can do my thing too.
Right.
Yes. So
competitiveness.
Or competitive. Obviously, see with them fellas in the training, you know, you go watch them sideways. I can't shoulders with. Yeah, because me and Kean Dan, you know, was the two youngest players on the team, the two youngest players in the country to make the national team at that time.
Right.
And the first game we played, the coach. Well, that's after Benaka them come. When Benaka came and he called the first squad, I was in the first squad. I and Kean Dan, I think, was the two youngest in the first squad.
Right.
I was like, I was 40 something, and then we was in and out just before I think we was like around in the 30s before they cut 20s, late 20s, something 30s, and then they cut. Well, obviously, we was nowhere right. The World Cup stuff and all that kind of stuff.
You the man who made that side have been calling Samuel.
Yes.
Yeah,
Anton was on.
Anton, he was 25.
Yes.
He was number 25. Anthony was 25.
So the first game I played was against Japan in 2006 in a stadium in Tokyo. So that was actually my debut with the national team. I came on as a substitute. We lost our game 2-0, but that was the first taste of international football.
I think I already say like that was like so much fans, like 70,000 fans. And
like I couldn't, and they're beating the drums and all kind of thing. I couldn't hear 10, 15 yards away. Obviously, the atmosphere, the stadium packed, you know, like around 50 to 70,000 people, and I was just in awe, you know, just watching.
Yeah. So anybody surprise you when you're training with them in the national team and thing, like just the level of professionalism or competitiveness that they have, but you just didn't see that coming?
The guys that was coming back from England, because the guys locally, I would have competed against them. And
league and
thing. I used to rough up a few of them in the league. So I had respect for them, but the respect wasn't like too much respect because hey, I hear as well, you understand what I'm saying? But the guys that were coming back from overseas, boy, them I had to battle my crease for them because, you know.
Yeah. You had any fanboy moment where you had to catch yourself and be like, hey, snap out of it?
Not really, no. Because you know, we culture we culture don't really allow it to. No. Really.
It's true. That was I know that I
laugh. We culture don't allow us to be like that. So my first I felt great being around strangers because I'm my growing. I seen them fellas on copybook and the Arnold Dorker and the Carlos Edwards and the Kendall Jones and all of them and the latter. And trust me, I was like a kid in a candy store, but I still have on my poker face a kind of winner boy.
Normal.
The first time I was introduced to Dwight Shaw. Yeah, boy, that was it. That was, well, obviously that is the man. So you know, that was my firm shake hand. And I said, yes, I got to go. Like I tell man,
but that's why they seen back to the first half moment still feeling good though. Yeah, I understand.
For sure. That's the big one there.
So then on the club level at that same time now, were you still in Trinidad at that time? Let me see. So I think you ended up going in Puerto Rico, right?
No, but I was still in Trinidad by then.
Okay.
So 2006 when I finished Caledonia, I went back to Northeast.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When I went back to Northeast, well, there was by then I was already established international, so you know They had to come up with it that way.
Yeah.
Must come with big struck.
And so yeah, when I went back home and a time home with the club and the half season I went to Joe Public under coach Michael McComey.
Okay.
Now, like I say, boy, my footballing career, I was just blessed to be among some of the Trinidad greats because I've noticed that I was with Gerald Nixon.
Right.
He pretty much less hold me by my hand and take me through the paces. You know, when I mean take me through was like that was the person who really gathered the arms around me and sheltered man. Like he was very important and instrumental in my success and my humbleness because knowing the stature that he had, he's like normal. Like I was even surprised that he would come and talk to me. Hey, what are we doing? And I was like, yo, like you is next to me and something.
Yeah.
Like I said, that humbleness, I couldn't act out. I just get a little small blind. I can't play like I done Ronaldinho, Messi.
You reach.
Them guys wasn't allowing that. We had a Guyanese connection of Charles Pollard, Howard Lowe, Coyote McCann, Kerry Harris, Randolph Jerome, and we had Kendall Velox. Then we had the Wolf Brothers. We had a good, nice, you know. So, like I said, going back to 2007, play half season with them, and then went to Joe Public in the second half of the season under Michael McComey. Now in Joe Public, I had a chance to be with Gary Glasgow and Odorika, Lyndon Chubby Andrews, Dale Saunders, the Nigel Pierre, Conrad Smith, Keno Thomas, Sion Power. Joe Public was stacked, you know. And the reason why I went there because when we finished the under 23 tournament, which Michael McComey coached, the transition was easy. To go to Joe Public. Obviously, Joe Public is a big name.
That was the one of the biggest.
In the Caribbean. So, and after 2007, that is when I left and went to Puerto Rico Islanders.
Hey, that's some real names you call it, boy.
That Joe Public team sound like it was.
Let me call some Bacchanal. Let me call some
Bacchanal. It was a strong team.
Let me call some Bacchanal.
Yeah, I'm glad you're saying that.
Out of
Try,
all
let me see.
Them
Try,
players,
you have to try, just do that.
who surprised you as the most skillful player that was on a team? Out of all that know from Northeast
to Joe Public.
Like who surprised you like horse? That man doing stuff I could never do.
It will be Nixon.
Yeah.
Nixon.
Not surprised by that.
Yeah, because I think he had just came back from Europe.
Yeah.
That 1 year he scored about 30 something goals in the he was. We went to Tobago. He hit Tobago 5. He was free kicks.
He was in the league before, right? That was the World Cup year, and he tear real men in the league.
Yeah. He I mean the rest of, I mean the names that I call obviously had not to choose any one of them guys now. Like you know, before meeting Arnold Dorka, obviously I hear the legends about him.
Sure.
You know, I wasn't really amongst them guys and them too much to see a lot. I was amongst Nixon for a while and I get to see it on a daily basis.
That's great. That's great. But it was Bacchanal. It was that easy.
You notice, accuse me. I cousin Ram and cousin Bacchanal, but my owners always be with good and pure intentions.
Mine was good intentions too.
I was good intentions. Well, you hear them kind of names you man call.
Yeah.
You try to make it pick between all them.
It come up easy.
The man has to play tough. Thank God he's a skillful player, but you're too wicked.
That's no one question.
Guys, I humbly apologize.
But no problem.
You're good.
Jaggy, don't worry yourself, boy. Don't worry yourself.
You're real good.
Don't worry yourself, Jaggy.
Jade just talking, saying I like Bacchanal, but that's not true.
I never said that you like it. I say you love it. That is true. You understand? So all right, so all this time I hear you talking, and it seemed like your career was mostly self-guided and so forth. I never hear nothing about like no agent or nothing. So tell us how you end up making the jump from Joe Public to Puerto Rico and things like that, please. How that happened?
And after playing with national team, the all the levels, I had the pleasure to share the national senior team with Osei Telesport. Humble soul.
Yeah.
And I think he was in Chicago Fire at that time. He was drafted to Chicago. He was the MLS team. And his agent, or I think his friends, I think his agent at the time was Heather McKenzie. And he's like, yo, like I could pay onto my agent, blah 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 blah. I was like, well, I mean, I'm looking for anything right now, so I taken it. She reached out, and she explained, agent stuff, talk, blah blah blah. And I was like, obviously, the first person come to me, I so I signed with her. She organized a trial for me to go to Charleston Battery. Now, when he sees
I just stop there. Just remember, we don't know what's agent stuff for now. We don't know what's the regular agent stuff.
But basically, she reached out and was like, I am Heather McKenzie, representing XYZ players. I could get you a trial into some teams in the US, with your ability. I like your ability. You could, there's a chance to go out and further their career, make some money. She talk about the fine print in the contracts, like her duties as an agent to represent me. I am a representation of her as well, so she would sort out all the contracts stuff, the financial stuff, and she basically is the one doing that and going and networking with the teams and the coaches to get me a trial, with the CV and stuff.
Nice.
Okay.
And at the end of the Republic season 2007, the contract ended. At that time I was making like around. I was probably 20 years. I was probably making like around $700 or $6,500 a month.
All right.
Which at that age was
plenty money.
That's good money. That's good money.
That's decent. Yeah, if you don't know.
Big money. I probably was one of the nice paid ones at that age.
And doubles was still $1 and things. So everything nice.
Inflation was not bad.
So at the end of the season, I did well with Joe Public coming up from Northeast to Joe Public, and we was in all the competitions. We won a few, and I want a raise. Every year I want a raise.
Yeah.
And we were in the mix and negotiating a raise. And then I remember Mike, that was on a Friday. All them time when I networking up in the States, you agent organizing stuff. I remember Friday. Well, Mike said, all who don't want to sign the contract that is presented to them, don't come training on a Monday. Everybody must have a panic. I said, all right, I don't know, must be bubbling up in the States already. The agent called me this Saturday and say, Jaggy, leaving on Monday.
Like,
I jump on a flight and I go on. When I go on, I tell
good.
Soul I go in because
tell nobody.
No, that is good.
Soul. I jump on and when them only ask me, where Jaggy, with this, that. Them and no Jaggy gone.
Yeah.
And I remember Mike was furious and he was like sending thing like, I can't leave like that and this and that and to get my registration. Me that time with you. Going up in Charleston, and it was my first experience in the US, but it was the trial there was I had a 4-day trial in Charleston, right? So this is where the mental strength, the lifestyle that I lived before was preparing me for that moment. Was myself, Kern Cupid was on trial with the team, Andre Toussaint was already signed to Charleston Battery.
Yeah.
And Battery was not in MLS, right? That was in USL?
USL.
Yeah.
We went the training session the first day. We had a 4-day tournament with San Jose Earthquakes, New York Red Bulls, two other teams I can't remember.
Was it a combined? Was it combined settings or just...
Yeah, it was like Charleston and 3 MLS teams played in a kind of preseason tournament.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, and they had that, and I remember the test was 4 days. First day we went to training, get acquainted with the players. Butterflies in my stomach, I excited. I say them, but I still fearful, if things will work out, blah, 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 And second day of training, we was playing a scrimmage, and I had a guy come in and start on my whole ankle.
Ooh.
My whole shin, and it left. I've seen these scars right now, 3 long scars on my shin, and I had to come off the game. My trial was more 2 days. And when I came off, the coach said, well, unfortunately, that is the thing, whatever is the case. And I went to many hotel, me, myself, Kern, and them fellas, and Tuesday, and we just vibing.